Okay, I have rolled out this black tulle. If you can see, I rolled it all the way out here, all the way again to the total gym where I had rolled out all my panels. So it's 3.5 times what my maximum length would be. So all this is going to be gathered up for the hem. Alright, these are my panels, all basted together. I did end up taking one of these horror panels off of each end, so I can use them for another piece of the project I wasn't sure that I was going to do, but now I have the material to match, so I can do that part. That's something that comes on later at the end, I think. So next I'm going to gather all that tulle. This end probably is going to be the bottom end. And obviously the ends are uneven now. The stripes are a different measure, but that's okay. I've got muffin footprints there to help straighten things out, apparently. This will be the top end. I'm kind of not necessarily concerned about the unevenness of the stripes. If you can see, some of them are still, I've been using the word tapered. It just basically means that I didn't necessarily cut them straight, or they weren't straight to begin with anyway. Obviously this is just my basting stitch here that has a little bit of puckering to it. And I can make straight seams when I go through on the machine. But there is going to be some gathering or pleating at the tops of the stripes, so I'm not necessarily worried if the stripes come out uneven. This was just something fun with these scraps, and I really enjoy just how this looks, all this fabric together, and it feels really spooky. It feels really autumn. It feels October, and I'm really so tempted to do just more things like this. I keep getting ideas for more projects. I keep thinking, like, this would be really cute for like some valances or some cafe curtains, where just to put some Halloween things up, but if the print is old, or if you only have a small amount of the Halloween fabric, to complement it with just some really great orange. So I'm getting so excited, even though I still have a lot more work to do. It's going to take a couple days for me to get all the tulle gathered and to get that stitched. I was going to do it with black thread because I have so much black thread, but that tone on tone was going to be a little difficult to see, so I'm probably just going to continue gathering with the purple. This is kind of my Halloween mystery project basket stash that's been accumulating stuff, but I'm certain I did not pay full price. Maybe if it was 75–90% clearance after a couple dollars for this. But even still, calculating the supplies that I've used, I think I'm around $35–36. So I've made quite a good use of material. That's what the total cost was when I bought the stuff. I haven't bought anything, I haven't used anything new that I've bought. A couple of these ribbons are new. I was going to use this really cute bat ribbon. I have two, decorative scarving, it says, sorry. These were $1 a piece ages ago. I was going to use this as the hem. I thought it was really adorable. It would just really match the bat theme. But it's, can you see? It is so sheer, and I feel like even really gathered up, it still looks really sheer, and I thought that may look strange when you get to the solid orange panels and then have the sheer that's meant to be the hem with nothing behind it. So I may save this for more swag accessory. It says it's decorative scarving, and I still have these other scarves yet to use. So I like that. I literally have so much Halloween stuff that apparently I was not putting to good use, that now I'm going to all put to good use. This bat ribbon There should be 2 rolls of this as well. Yes, this bat ribbon I really love, but I also don't think I want to use for this project because I really don't have a lot of white material in this project. I thought about using this for the hem just as a straight border, but I felt the white didn't match, and I really kind of am liking the idea of this being something like maybe a wreath, something bigger and more monochromatic bold than just as a little accent on this. So I'm saving these ribbons for something else. Here's the orange that I actually just got at the dollar store. That also is not necessarily enough for anything, 9 feet. That I also would love to use, and I could go to the store and buy more. And actually, I love this red tubing. I would love to get the orange version of this. And here is where I feel like hidden costs can creep up into your sewing. Because the pajama pants and the orange roll were $20. The other little orange remnant was $2, $22. So if I'm already feeling I'm around $38, under $40, definitely, half of budget that I would have calculated in here is all in all these little extra bells and whistles, which is amazing how it accumulates. And this is where I guess sewing can be discouraging, because someone can make something simple that's perfectly wonderful, but feel that it's not good enough. And that's what's really frustrating. I would love that orange tubing just to be the border between the fabric and the black ribbon tulle. But if I don't find it at the store, I'm not going to worry about it. I have gathered the entire roll of tulle. I don't have video of it because I was sitting in the easy chair to do it comfortably, sorry. And as you can see, it's a little short. I did gather it as full as possible rather than try and thin it out to make the length, because I just wanted it to be darker. I love that it has this sheer sparkle to it, but I really wanted it to be dark and full. Now I do have a second spool, not of the same type. This one is another 6 yards, and I thought that it was totally different, that I was just going to have to hide it here on the back kind of ends, so that way my sparkly piece would be centered. But this is also a nice sparkly one. So, huzzah. Don't you love my camera setup yet again? Handheld action here. I briefly just wanted to show where I have done some of my seams. I went through one pass, just inside the basting stitch, and then I'm doing a small fold over. No, can you see? A small fold over just in a partial finish to help some of these fraying seams. It's not necessarily a perfect finish, but it does the job. And I already have tension issues with my machine. It's older. It probably needs a clean or an oil, and I fight with tension. And now I'm using 2 different textured type of fabrics, which makes, can you see, does give me some issues. It's obviously a lot neater and a lot faster than if I were doing this by hand, and I have a lot to do. I'm turning over 24 seams by a 1/4 inch and then another 1/4 inch. Okay, let's do that math. This is actually going to be a little shorter. I feel like when some folks are sewing, maybe that's where they get themselves in trouble, where they think they're finishing a seam, they're turning something over, and then if something ends up being too small, they wonder where they went wrong. And it's kind of a built-in calculation that you have to consider. For this, fortunately, it's not going to change anything for me, but I still have a lot more work to do. Okay, you can see, if you can see, why does not, what am I doing that I'm not focusing? Woo, no. Obviously you can see where some of that fraying is starting to hurt me a little bit, down a seam line. I also, in sewing this, again, gasp, shocker, I'm not worried about directional sewing. I sew down one side, and when I go to turn it over and sew up or down, whichever side is which, I realize some of the things that I'm saying, basting, direction sewings, and things like that, maybe are not necessarily things that I'm explaining properly, but they are sewing terms that there's definitely much more knowledge and information out there to grab. I'm not exactly doing this the right proper way, just like my camera work, and I still have a lot more. Okay, this is actually my last seam, and I still have to turn it under. Ideally, obviously, if I were worried about finishing these seams, I would have turned it under again, but this doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be finished on the inside, and I guess if I were doing something proper, like a dress, I would finish these seams, and I still probably would do a liner. I'm not going to worry about doing a lining on this either. I'm kind of fed up with it at this point. I'm kind of barely even into it, and I'm fed up with it. My mother said, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Why not?" And now I'm looking at it going, "Why did I do this to myself?" So as much as you're excited about a project, sometimes actually getting in and doing the thing is annoying and frustrating, and all these little seams and all this little fraying. So at first I was excited of like, oh, I've only got 4 panels left, and then it's like, oh, but I'm still doing each seam twice, so that's like 8 and 16 more lines to go. But we have learned I can sew in a straight line. I did do a dress, I should see if there's pictures of me, a black and teal striped, not a dress, it was just a ball gown skirt for an event many years ago, and it was only 8 panels, and they were satin types, but they were the same fabric, just in 2 different colors, and that went like such a breeze and such a charm. And I was reminded of that when I was doing this, and I thought, why is this so much more complicated? Well, there's 3 times as much stuff to figure out. But I am excited, though, a little. I'll be excited to be done and work on the next part, fixing the tops and the bottoms of this mess. And then I still have all my little extras and accessories to do, which I'm excited to get into that. I'm ready to be done with this part. I'm excited to get into the next phase. I also thought having 4 bobbins full and just rotating 2 at a time was enough, and it kind of didn't seem like enough. I did end up making a 5th one. It's so funny, this mass huge thing, I don't feel like I've made a dent into this thing at all. At all. You can see I have gathered my top of my material. The yardage of this worked out beautifully, perfectly. It definitely would have been too much if I would have had those extra 2 horror panels on the end, but I can use them for another accessory on the material, and I've done all my gathering. You still here? You helping? Yes? No? Okay, no. I went through here with a hand gather on quadruple of my purple thread. I certainly have enough of the thread to spare, and I wanted to make sure it was just a thick enough drawstring. I did a pretty tight gather where I wanted most of the embellishment in the center, and it's a little looser down here at the end where I may need to make some adjustments. Some trusty black ribbon to hold all this gather in place as I want it to be. Just, you know, back this, go through here again with all my pleats, just to keep this together, just to keep it a little sturdy and secure. I folded underneath here on my pieces and my orange to make them all the nice length that I needed, and went through that with a stay stitch, and now I can just go back and reinforce with this black ribbon. And there were a few places, I think it was the other end with this horror fabric, where some of that fraying again, you can see there is a little bit of a line here, where I did have to do a quick little stitch, some quick patchwork. But when they're gathered together like this, I feel like now it's going to stay in this position. So, because this is delicate material, I guess if it were being poked and prodded and everything, it probably would be more likely to rip in some of those more gentle areas. But once I've got it here in my stitch, and once I have it with my ribbon support, that'll be great. I think I paid a couple dollars when a local sewing store was closing clearance. I paid a couple dollars for this giant bolt of black ribbon. And does it say what the yardage is on here? 25 yards. Great. And I have used this black ribbon for all kinds of things. This was just a dollar store scarf that I had for a while, and I want to use this as the topper for my gathers. But I need to do some measuring and some calculation. Doing this on a topper, I'll probably be turning an inch under here, and when I cut it, I'll be turning an inch under here. So I do need to cut this scarf, but it's not going to be an equal halves. I don't know, 70-30. So, and it is delicate material, so I'm going to have to work with that. I'm going to have to probably do a nice little fell seam on it as I'm working. So I am progressing here at a quite good speed, quite nicely, doing what I want to, which is great. I think we are in October now, so I have a couple more days work left to do on the second half of this project. I realize that my system of measurements, where something is just eyeballed and cut, may drive some people crazy, but too bad. Okay, my black ribbon is the length of my gathered yardage, and as you can see, that length, and give it to a couple extra inches on each end for extra, that length is just about the length of my scarf. And I do need the scarf to be twice as long. And I am going to have kind of a rod pocket. It's not a curtain, but almost ready to tell you what it is, almost. But there will be kind of a fold under drawstring type pull through in there, where I want the orange fabric, this nice scarf, to be the top border. But then I also want there to be orange check to come out of the end of the border and be able to be tied kind of bow at the ends. I should just go by number of checks. 1, 2, not quite half. Not as extreme as I thought, just the end. So that way I can put, I'm going to cut another black ribbon, and that will be what goes through my pocket. Am I making sense? This black line is going to be the backer of my gather. And then this orange check will be in front of that border. And they will be sewn together to make my pocket. And then the extra that I'm cutting off of this orange will be at the ends, sewn onto the ends of a new black ribbon that is going to go through my pocket. Are you completely annoyed that you don't know what it is? Or do you already obviously know what it is and you think it's stupid that I'm not telling you? I don't know. And the cat doesn't care either. He walked away. Alright, now visually it's beginning to make sense what I'm seeing in my head. I know I may not be the best at explaining everything. You can see how I have the black ribbon is going on the inner side of the gather to secure those pleats, tie those pleats effectively kind of down. And I'll do that by hand so that way I can make any kind of adjustments with any of my gathers that I want to be nice and perfectly measured out. And then on the outside gather line is where I'm going to do my roll end of my orange stripe, orange check. And then this will be folded over the top to get my top finish. And then these orange pieces, my little cut section, these are going to have another black ribbon between them that can go through my rod and then have my pretty orange ends come out. So I know that seemed maybe a little technical, a little complicated the way I said it, but if I was working with, again, went out and bought orange checked ribbon for another $2 or $3, where I would have all the length that I need and I wouldn't have to worry about doing any kind of cutting or hiding. It would be simple and nice and easy that, oh, I just put a matching ribbon through my ribbon pocket. But again, I'm using what I have in stash, what I have in stock, and if we're calculating like the $2, $3 add-on of this black ribbon that I had in stash, my legacy pricing here is still around $40. So if I went out and bought all of this material, I would not have spent $40. It would have been a lot more than that. Okay, everybody. Now, hear me out a second. I know in my cabinet, I have light sets. I think I may have just talked about these, depending on if you've seen one of my dollar store hauls or not. I have this set and this set. I don't know if these came from the same store or different stores at different seasons, one from this year, one from last year. But these are indoor orange LED lights, requires battery. This requires battery. 10 orange lights, 10 lights. Hear me out. If you can see these, I am half tempted to put these lights in with my tulle ribbon hem. I need to see the length. Doesn't have to go the whole length, and how much of this is actually light and how much of it is the wire leading to your battery box. I have to open them up and see. Just kind of loosely stitch each light in place. And in lieu of having some other kind of fun Halloween orange border of actual ribbon, of actual fabric, because these are battery operated, I could just make, certainly have plenty of orange material where I could just make a pocket in one of the orange stripes for the battery boxes. I think this is really crazy. And obviously it may or may not work. Do you have to share to you, this little guy was made by my mother maybe 40 years ago. And I still have it. What is this? See, I have so much, I don't even know what I have. I do know I have a spooky, yeah, back there I've got a spooky, oh, this was my little football. It looks like a football shaped design, but this was actually for my cat pumpkin house that the cat still does not like. Now, totally cool. Okay, was that the Kmart brand? Wow. Okay, this is 12-foot orange rope light. Now, this would be absolutely awesome to have going around the border of my material. But, well, indoor, outdoor, 12 feet. but this has to be plug-in. I'm almost certain this is a plug-in. So I don't think a plug-in is going to work, but I am going to experiment with my battery operated lights. So a lot of times I get frustrated with my projects if they're just cardboard or simple, because I think today, you know, everybody with all kinds of motherboards and Raspberry Pis, today people can make all kinds of light up animatronic material that my stuff is static, and hey, but when in doubt, a jar of creepy crawlies works. But I've been looking for ways to, how can I get more high-tech, because I'm not a high-tech person, and this might be it. We'll see. So this is so funny that I got this idea and I thought, oh no, that's too preposterous, this would not work. It makes an extra step if I have to make multiple passes around my hem. So this is quite funny. I do need to get out to the store. I haven't been out in like 2 weeks because I've been working on this material, and now it is October. So sometimes dollar stores can be hit or miss in October. Sometimes things are already gone. So maybe, depending on how I luck into things, if I find another orange ribbon, I can go through with ribbon. In theory, I could go through with ribbon and lights just to be extra over the top. The whole point of this project was it's scraps. There's extra Halloween stuff just piled on, and we're having fun with it. If I find another light set, that would be really great. I am done one part of my ribbon top here. I just wanted to explain some of the detail here, if you can see, because I did a little bit of overkill, I think. Oh, there we go, nice and focused. You can see I just did an overstitch on the gathered edge and the end of the ribbon. That was just kind of to hold it in place, and then I went through in one direction with a larger running back stitch, again just to kind of hold my gathers down a little bit, and then I went back through with a smaller running back stitch to get really finite in my gathers and my pleats. You can see the orange line was actually my stay stitch line, that I didn't really care about the tension at the moment when I was going through the machine, just folding that over. But I went through my stay stitch, basically. My stay stitch. Ooh, can't even talk. It's kind of late at night here. I just got out of my easy chair and said, let me lay this out on the floor and show some progress. So now this is going to be turned upright like so, which right now I realize looks kind of strange, that I have the nice side of the ribbon with all the ugly hidden stitching on the inside, but then this is my ugly inside of the material. But it's going to make sense. My little orange check is now going to go up and cover all this ugly on this side, and then I'll use the orange thread, that rust colored thread, for that, because that is going to be nice stitching that I do want to blend in. It was much easier to do in a contrast kind of purple here that I could see going through this. So I'm tired. It's late. I did a lot of work today. It seemed like a lot that was never ending, that I was never going to get done when I was fighting with some of these little frayed hems. Now, and of course, Gritty was sitting here beside me on the Snuggie, the Flyer Snuggie, fittingly, while I worked, and of course the moment I do the video camera and start talking, he walks away. With so many of these seams that I was never going to get done, and that with all this fraying that it was going to be a problem. And then here, going through this top worked pretty quickly, so I'm making progress. I can't talk anymore, but I'm making sewing progress. These seams, though, are staying as is. Sorry. They're ugly and they're staying that way.
Say hi, Gritty. Say hi.